That's one of my favorite kinds of meditations to lead, actually, is like we have a
Oh,
compost practice.
really?
Yeah.
Whoa, what's the compost practice?
um, so it uses like our kind of earth breath, which is a
Okay.
particular pattern of breathing. But then the idea, like sort of the image of it, is compost, that like we're able to um, give our emotional overwhelm or like whatever the thing is, like kind of send it down and into the earth, and then like receive back the nourishment of the compost, that the earth energy helps to make nutrition out of our waste, essentially. So like the things that we feel like we're
Mm,
trying to let go or we're trying to jettison can
mm,
become useful again.
mm. I love that. It reminds me in some ways of like Tonglen, but even more like personal and alchemical in a certain way, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like essentially saying um like not to go around the thing, but through the thing, but in a way that is contained by something greater than the thing.
Yeah. Yep. I followed that. Yes. Totally.
I love
Yeah.
it, right? Because there's like, I've been thinking about, you know, this heart, like, how do you, especially because, like, right now, right, we're kind of in a, you could call it a collective trauma. I don't know that I don't really like using the word trauma that much, but it's like a desync, like a
Yeah.
collective destabilization.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so in a way, like it's very important for us to have a practice, right? Of like, how do we have a sense of a container that doesn't rely on things being as they always are? Like a sense
Nice.
of that
Yeah.
grounding. Some people would say maybe spiritual grounding. We could also say an oriented way of being,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But ultimately, when you're in the midst of all that stuff, it's going to be that plus like the moving through of these waves, like all of the it's yeah,
Great.
going through a birth canal or something.
Whoa. Yeah, totally. Right. No, I was thinking about like the um rebirthing sort of like destructive creative thing that's happening by the destabilization in the world, and like what will we, like what are we kind of gestating in all of the disorder that you're talking about, and then so like what will emerge
Mm-hmm.
um, from the collective.
Yeah, I mean, even just the word gestating is such a, like, to me, like a kind way of being with a process that's not complete, that's kind of scary and sometimes and has lots of different reactions attached to it, but that because you don't know and you can't see yet where it's headed, but
Mm-hmm.
gestating has like a quality of, there is, I don't know what it is, but there is a direction of life and there is a direction of growth of
Yeah.
some kind
Nice. Yeah,
that,
definitely.
yeah, that creates kind of a container or a containment.
Yeah, that includes the
Yeah,
uncertainty, but
yeah,
then, yeah, like you said,
yeah,
also offers
yeah.
trajectory.
So you have this compost meditation that helps you do that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
how is that like, how does that play out into your life at large in terms of this time and like the particular changes that you're going through and seeing people around you go through, and how, yeah, how that is
Yeah.
helping like be the chemical container to move through this time.
Yeah. I mean, actually, what the idea of uncertainty makes me think of is like you were mentioning earlier, like how I've benefited from organic intelligence myself, like having done a lot of that work as the client.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I would say coping with uncertainty is like at the top of the list of things that I feel like much better about.
Woo!
Yeah.
That's like that's the ultimate existential thing.
Indeed. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Right. And so OI has helped me a lot just to cultivate the practice of like acceptance, I guess, and also just like nowness. Yeah, like being able to be like now as opposed to worrying about the future.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge leap, Hannah. Like what you're describing right now, like that's to go from worrying, or you might even say speculating or ruminating. It's different for different people, right? About the future. Or like for me, sometimes it's the past, ruminating about the past. To having your consciousness be more stabilized here and now.
Yeah, more stabilized is a good way to put it. Like, I think, I can still, vision and do other things about other times, but I am able to like be embodied and be okay instead of being overwhelmed. Yeah.
And this brings up a really something that's like for me like been such an important, I'm still in the learning process, but and I'd be curious to hear what you have to say about how this like stabilizing more in the now, how that changes the way you engage with things, and also how it changes the like sort of, well, maybe we start there, right? Like how, like how does it change? Like what's different from that way of living, from a way of living that's more ruminating or future anxious? Like what's different about, how does life look different, feel different? How is it different?
Yeah. I think I feel more patient with my life. Like there's still like kind of a fun sense of impatience, but I think impatience can either be like a little impatient in like a sort of excited way, or it can be like really uncomfortable. So now we're in the range of like excited, impatient, and just a much deeper sense of faith, I guess, which I've sort of always felt a little connected to, a sense of faith that like things will emerge as they're meant to, and not that it's all good, but that it's all like enough, or it's all
enough,
okay or something.
And you've had this, go ahead, you go.
I've learned how to rest more and like move more slowly, and like not have to, like I'm not rushing all the time from one thing to the next. And so I think in the bigger picture of my life, like as a teacher, I hadn't like fully burned out, and I didn't want to get to like a full burnout place, but I had gotten to a spot where I didn't want to teach anymore. And so, and in the intervening time, like after I left teaching is when I found OI and have been doing it and all of that. And so like having this practice that's allowed me to learn how to rest and learn how to feel more acceptance and uncertainty and all of those things has helped me to recharge sort of the whole well of my life, so that now I can feel a sense of like I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel again, in terms of like a sense of purpose and a sense of like action towards something, and getting back to education more intentionally. And
love that. Recharge the well of my life.
Yes. Yeah. It's good. It's been helpful. Yeah.
And it makes me curious a little bit about, this Buddhist idea of like wise action. Like how does action in the world look when it's coming from this place that's not oriented and not, that's like overriding that need for rest versus like, I know a lot of people, especially like I used to have chronic fatigue, and other people that have suffered from kidney issues and just like chronic illness and whatever, there's this concern, this worry, like if I stop and rest, like I'll never like do anything again, right? But
Totally.
there's this what I'm hearing you say and what I've experienced is like there's there's this way of learning to be in the now that
Mm-hmm.
replenishes the system so that like action and activity can come back. But I mean, this is where I'd be curious to hear someone else's opinion. Like I've experienced that action feeling different from that place than action before, like letting, like sinking down and letting that well like replenish. Like it has a different quality. Engagement has a different quality. Do you
Yeah,
experience the same?
totally. Right. So like, yes, relating to like what you said about feeling like if I were to stop, I would never be able to like rev my engine again.
Mm-hmm.
I watched all like 20 Marvel movies or whatever, and like it was a lot. It was a big time investment. um, but definitely. So like now the idea would be that like I don't have to sort of like run myself dry for 10 years with very little rest and then take like essentially like 3 years to recover before I'm able to function again. Like it feels like from a more like rested place in a more continuous way. Like I've always gotten enough sleep every night, really, but like taking little breaks during the day means that I'm not just like exhausted at the end of every day. Like
Mm-hmm.
what idea am I getting to? I guess it's a little fractal. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm oscillating between activity and rest in a way now that feels like I'm not getting as depleted or as exhausted. So it's all.
Right. Right. I love that because I mean, a lot of people understand kind of at least just in a from a basic idea of, oh yeah, I sleep at night. I get, but
Mm-hmm.
like, how do we live our, and I mean, I would argue some people aren't actually getting like true rest even when they're sleeping. Sleeping
Yeah.
because their nervous
Right.
systems are so busy, right, that they're getting some rest. Some parts of them are, but then other parts of them are actually still not. And so
Mm-hmm.
wake up tired and can be very disjointed. But like what is it that what's the difference between that kind of just unconscious, like, oh, it's time to like, you know, sleep
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm up and I'm just running and like recognizing, wow, like you said, fractal, like how do we get so good at noticing and reading like, oh, right now I need and what is rest really? Like if it's not just like lying down to sleep, because sometimes that's what it is, even in the middle of the day, it might be a nap. But like
Mm-hmm.
there's other ways that we rest, right? Like even like right now for me to like be
Mm-hmm.
like sitting here, I'm engaging with you and I'm also like letting my eyes take in the beautiful trees outside.
Yeah.
And that's like, oh, yeah, right? Get a little yawn.
Catch the resting vibes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 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 What about you? How do you sort of, I know it's hard because we do this work and part of it is that we get like the mirroring of a therapist or mentor. But being in this for a while and studying it and doing personal work too, I wonder how do you like notice your own systems, like fluctuations of like, oh, now I need to take a break from focusing or engaging in a particular way and give my system that down wave, that
Mm-hmm.
um, drink from the well of life, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I mean, that word you said, noticing. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, that's kind of revolutionary all by itself. Like, having the sort of permission to notice that you're tired.
Mm.
Especially, so, like, I was an elementary teacher for a long time, and like in education culture, there's so much. Um, I mean, burning yourself out is so rewarded. Like, if you're not working kind of literally all the time,
It's kind of a
like
messed
you're
up,
not supposed to have boundaries. What?
right? It's a pretty messed up. It's a sort of chaotic
Yeah,
system. Yes.
totally. Right. Yeah. intensely chaotic and well-intentioned, like wonderful. Yeah, so even just like having the permission to literally like lean back in a chair and like notice and like check in with myself, like where am I at?
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, or like if I'm busy and focused on some like project on my computer, like yeah, just like noticing when I feel a little overdone. um
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah, not taking like an hour-long nap. I can do just like, yeah, like look around a little bit, orient, like take
Mm-hmm.
a few like slower breaths, or just like um even really like the tuning in itself to like whatever I need feels restful and restorative,
Mm-hmm.
like without having to necessarily change what I'm doing. Like just being able to be aware of like how am I doing is
Mm-hmm.
helpful.
Right, it's so easy, I think, to get like um we're processing, so especially if, and maybe you can really like, I'm somebody who sort of my coping mechanism was more of the like pay attention to what's going on with everyone outside of me, to the neglect of myself, kind of to make sure
Yeah.
everything's okay kind of background.
Yeah. Yep.
Right, and so that's led to like a lot of need for more introverted lifestyle in order to like get better at hearing that and really just being with myself. But I love what you described about then, how we can practice like starting from where it's easy, which we learn from a lot from organic intelligence, but then like when that gets easy enough, like being in situations where maybe the system around us is also chaotic, and there's that capacity to then still be able to distinguish what I need right now, even if it looks different than the behavior of everybody around me.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like, and I can totally relate with that. Like, I'm just gonna lean back in my chair, even though like everybody else is like, or I'm
Yeah.
gonna stop. Like everyone else is like jogging really fast. I'm just gonna like stop and like look at the mountains, or like,
Yes.
and like giving ourselves that permission to be. I mean, really, it's a self-empower. It's a really empowering process, and
Mm-hmm.
um, and for me, like to kind of get past whatever conditioned thoughts and stuff were there about that, and to actually start to see the fruits on the other side. And this is when I ask you about this too, because I know you've done a lot of work in this way. Like, like when we give ourselves permission to do that, even if it is like almost countercultural or almost like this rebellious thing in these systems that are chaotic, like how we actually start to see that our choice to care for ourselves in that way ends up actually being more a benefit to people around us, like
Yeah.
as opposed to the opposite, like it actually ends up being helpful to others as well as ourselves to be the like rebel self-care person.
Right. Yeah, totally. I know. um yeah, I'm curious honestly, like how after whatever happens after quarantine, like how all of that will be. Like I don't even know yet necessarily like the extent to which it might uh move out into the world. Sorry, there's a